The florist's invoice arrived on a Tuesday morning, wedged between a credit card statement and a pizza coupon like some cosmic joke. I was sipping my coffee, still half asleep, when I saw it. 12 red roses. Delivery to Mrs. Elise Vega. From GP. Message, for my beautiful secret. GP Gavin Parks, my best friend since Army basic training. The man I'd asked to look after my wife while I was deployed on a classified cryptologic assignment in Eastern Europe for 3 months. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I set my coffee down so hard it splashed across the kitchen counter. The invoice trembled in my hands as I read it again, hoping my eyes were playing tricks on me. They weren't. "Rafael, you okay down there?" Elise called from upstairs, her voice sweet as honey, the same voice that had whispered, "I love you," before I left for deployment. The same voice that had told me how grateful she was that Gavin would check on her while I was gone. "Fine, babe," I called back, my voice surprisingly steady. "Just checking the mail." I heard the shower turn on upstairs. Elise always took long showers, 45 minutes minimum. Plenty of time to think, plenty of time for the pieces to fall into place like dominoes in my mind. The anonymous bouquets she'd been posting on Instagram for the past 2 months. The way Gavin had stopped answering my calls from overseas. How Elise suddenly had girls' nights with her friend Sophia every weekend. The expensive perfume I'd smelled in our bedroom when I came home unexpectedly last week. I'm Rafael Vega, 35 years old, and I've spent the last 12 years as a cryptologic linguist for the Army. My job is finding patterns, breaking codes, uncovering secrets. Turns out, I'd been living with the biggest secret of all. My phone buzzed. A text from Gavin. "Hey man, welcome back. How was the mission? We should grab a beer soon." The audacity was breathtaking. I almost had to admire it. I walked to the living room window and looked across the street at Mrs. Henderson's house. She was already in her garden, tending to her roses with the dedication of a surgeon. Mrs. Henderson saw everything that happened on Maple Street. Everything. "Mrs. Henderson," I called out, walking across the street. "Beautiful morning, isn't it?" She looked up, her weathered face creasing into a smile. "Rafael, welcome home, dear. How was your trip?" "Educational," I said. "Hey, I wanted to thank you for keeping an eye on things while I was gone. Elise mentioned you waved at her visitors." Mrs. Henderson's expression shifted slightly. "Oh, well, yes. That friend of yours, the tall one with the truck, he was here quite often, very dedicated to checking on Elise, sometimes stayed quite late." "Gavin's always been thorough," I said, my smile feeling like broken glass. "Indeed. In fact, I saw his truck leaving your driveway just yesterday morning, around 6 a.m. I was up early watering my roses." Yesterday morning, when Elise had told me she'd slept in until 9. Well, you know Gavin, early bird and all that. I thanked Mrs. Henderson and walked back to my house, my mind already spinning. Back inside, I could hear Elise singing in the shower. She was happy, really, genuinely happy, happier than I'd heard her in months. I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. Time to do what I do best, gather intelligence. Gavin Parks, 36 years old, divorced 2 years ago, works as a contractor for military logistics, lives alone in a rental house 15 minutes away, and apparently has been living a double life in my house while I served my country overseas. I pulled up Elise's Instagram. There they were, the bouquets. 12 posts over 3 months, each one captioned with something like, "Someone knows how to make a girl smile," or "Anonymous admirers are the best kind." The comments from her friends were telling. Sophia Martinez. "Girl, spill. Who's your secret admirer?" Elise. "A lady never tells." Jennifer Walsh. "So romantic. He has good taste." Elise. "The best taste. You have no idea." I screenshotted everything. Next, I checked our credit card statements. Nothing unusual there, but that made sense. Gavin would be too smart to leave a paper trail on our accounts. But the florist invoice had come to our house, which meant he'd probably paid cash and given our address by mistake. One little slip-up in an otherwise careful operation. The shower turned off upstairs. "Honey?" Elise called. "Can you bring me a towel? I forgot to grab one." "Sure thing," I called back, closing my laptop. I climbed the stairs, grabbed a towel from the linen closet, and knocked on the bathroom door. When she opened it, her face was flushed from the hot water, her dark hair slicked back. She was beautiful, had always been beautiful. For 8 years of marriage, I'd considered myself the luckiest man alive. "Thanks, babe." She kissed my cheek. "I was thinking we could go out to dinner tonight. Celebrate you being home." "Sounds perfect," I said. "Maybe we should invite Gavin. You know, thank him for looking after you while I was gone." Something flickered across her face, just for a second. "Oh, I don't think he's available tonight. He mentioned he was busy." "Did he? When did he mention that?" Another flicker. "Yesterday, when he stopped by to check that everything was okay before you got home. At 6 a.m., when Mrs. Henderson saw his truck leaving." "Well, maybe another time," I said. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Maybe." I went back downstairs and called my boss, Colonel Dugan. He answered on the first ring. "Vega, how's civilian life treating you?" "Like a puzzle I need to solve, sir. I was wondering if I could take some personal time. Family matters." "Everything all right?" "It will be, sir. I just need to handle some intelligence gathering." Dugan was quiet for a moment. He'd known me for 8 years, had seen me work through problems that would break other men. "Take all the time you need, Rafael, and if you need anything, call me." "Thank you, sir." I hung up and stared at the florist invoice again. GP to EV for my beautiful secret. Game on. The next morning, I woke up early and made coffee for 2. Elise came downstairs in her robe, yawning and beautiful, and I handed her a mug like I had every morning for 8 years. "You're up early," she said, settling into her chair at the kitchen table. "Jet lag," I lied. Truth was, I'd barely slept. I'd spent most of the night planning my next moves like a military operation, because that's what this was now. "I was thinking I might stop by the VFW today. Haven't seen the guys since I got back." "That sounds nice." She was scrolling through her phone, not really paying attention. "I've got to work at the shop today. We're doing flowers for the Morrison wedding this weekend." Elise owned a small florist shop downtown called Petals and Stems. She'd started it 5 years ago with money from her grandmother's inheritance. It was her baby, her pride and joy. She knew every flower supplier in the city, every wedding planner, every funeral director. Her business was built on reputation and relationships. "The Morrison wedding," I said casually. "Big job?" "Huge, 300 guests. If we nail this, it could lead to a lot more high-end work." She looked up from her phone. "Actually, I might have to work late tonight. Maybe this weekend, too." "No problem. I'll probably hang out with the guys anyway." She smiled and kissed the top of my head before heading back upstairs to get dressed. As soon as I heard the bedroom door close, I was on my laptop again. The VFW hall was exactly as I'd left it 3 months ago. Wood paneling, American flags, and the lingering smell of coffee and cigarettes. The usual crew was there. Tommy Rodriguez, Mike Chen, Dave Walsh, and about a dozen other veterans from various conflicts and deployments. "Rafe," Tommy called out when he saw me. "Welcome back, brother. How was the assignment?" "Classified and boring," I said, which got the expected laughs. "Hey, has Gavin been around lately?" "Parks? Yeah, he was here last week. Seemed pretty happy about something. Kept checking his phone and grinning like an idiot." Mike Chen leaned back in his chair. "He was talking about some woman. Didn't mention a name, but he seemed pretty smitten." My coffee suddenly tasted like ash. Good for him. He's been alone since the divorce. Yeah, he said this one was different. Said she was classy, beautiful, and that it was complicated, but worth it. Complicated, because she was married to his best friend. I spent an hour at the VFW, gathering information without seeming to pry. By the time I left, I had a clear picture. Gavin had been happier than anyone had seen him in years. He'd been dressing better, spending money more freely, and talking about a future with someone special. My next stop was Sofia Martinez's house. Sofia had been Elise's best friend since college. She was also the biggest gossip in our social circle, which usually annoyed me, but today made her invaluable. She lived in a small house near the university, where she worked as an admissions counselor. Rafael! She seemed genuinely surprised to see me on her doorstep. I didn't know you were back. Got in a few days ago. I wanted to thank you for being such a good friend to Elise while I was gone. She mentioned you two had some great girls' nights. Sophia's smile faltered slightly. Oh, yes, we had some fun. I'm sure you did. Listen, I know this might sound weird, but I want to plan something special for Elise. A surprise party, maybe. Can you tell me what she's been up to lately? What's been making her happy? Sophia shifted uncomfortably. Well, she's been really focused on work. The flower shop is doing great. Anything else? New hobbies? New friends? Raphael, I think maybe you should talk to Elise about what? Sophia looked like she wanted to disappear into her doorframe. I really think this conversation should be between you and your wife. Bingo. Of course, I said, giving her my most understanding smile. I just wanted to surprise her, but you're right. I should ask her directly. I left Sophia's house with confirmation of what I already knew. Elise's best friend was in on the secret, which meant this wasn't just an affair. This was a conspiracy. That afternoon, I drove to Elise's flower shop. Petals and Stems was located in a trendy part of downtown, sandwiched between a coffee shop and a boutique clothing store. Through the window, I could see Elise working with her assistant, a young woman named Kelly. I didn't go in. Instead, I parked across the street and watched. At 3:17 p.m., a familiar blue pickup truck pulled up outside the shop. Gavin Parks got out, looked around nervously, and went inside. Through the window, I watched him approach Elise. She looked up from the arrangement she was working on, and her face lit up like Christmas morning. They talked for maybe 2 minutes, standing closer than friends should stand. Then Gavin handed her something small, too small to see from my vantage point, and left. As soon as his truck disappeared around the corner, I walked into the shop. Raphael? Elise looked startled. What are you doing here? Thought I'd surprise my beautiful wife at work, I said, loud enough for Kelly to hear. Maybe take you to lunch. That's so sweet, but I can't. We're swamped with the Morrison wedding prep. Was that Gavin I saw leaving? I should have said hi. Elise's hands stilled on the flowers she was arranging. Gavin? No, I don't think... Oh, wait. Yes. He stopped by to return something he borrowed from our garage while you were gone. What did he borrow? My hedge trimmer. I nodded thoughtfully. That's weird. I saw him in the parking lot, and he didn't have a hedge trimmer with him. Elise's face flushed. He's going to pick it up later. Ah. I kissed her cheek. Well, since you're too busy for lunch, I'll let you get back to work. Love you. Love you too. As I walked back to my car, I saw Kelly watching me through the window with an expression I couldn't quite read. Sympathy, maybe. Or pity. That evening, Elise worked late as promised. I used the time to do more research. I drove to Gavin's rental house and parked down the street. His blue pickup was in the driveway and lights were on inside. I took photos of his house, his truck, his license plate. Then I called him. Rafe, how's it going, man? Good. Listen, I wanted to thank you for looking after Elise while I was gone. She said you were really attentive. Hey, no problem. That's what friends are for, right? Absolutely. In fact, I was thinking we should all get together soon. You, me, Elise, maybe dinner this weekend? There was a pause. This weekend might be tough for me. I've got plans. Plans with anyone I know? Another pause, longer this time. Just personal stuff. You know how it is. Sure do. Well, maybe next weekend then. Yeah, maybe. After I hung up, I sat in my car and stared at Gavin's house. In 12 years of friendship, he'd never been evasive with me. We'd served together, bled together, trusted each other with our lives. And now he was lying to my face while sleeping with my wife. I drove home and found Elise already in bed, reading a book. How was work? I asked, getting undressed. Exhausting, but good. We got a lot done. I climbed into bed beside her. She smelled like flowers and something else, something masculine. Cologne. Elise? Do you love me? She put down her book and turned to face me. Of course I do. Why would you ask that? Just making sure. She kissed me softly. I love you, Rafael. You're my husband. As she settled back into her book, I stared at the ceiling and planned my next move. Because loving me and being faithful to me were apparently two very different things. And tomorrow, I was going to start making that distinction very clear to everyone involved. Friday morning, I called the VFW hall and spoke to the events coordinator, a retired Marine named Sarah Walsh. Sarah, it's Rafael Vega. I have an idea for a fundraiser that might interest you. I'm listening. What if we held a special gala to honor our deployed service members and the people who support them at home? Make it a big deal. Dress uniforms, local press, maybe some city officials. That sounds wonderful, Rafael. What's the occasion? I was thinking we could call it Heroes and Guardians, honoring those who serve and those who protect what matters most. Really celebrate the bonds of trust and loyalty that make our community strong. Sarah was quiet for a moment. That's very specific and very touching. When were you thinking? Next Friday night. I know it's short notice, but I think we could pull it together. I'd be happy to help with planning and funding. Next Friday? That's only a week away. I know, but sometimes the best things happen when you act on inspiration, right? By Friday afternoon, the gala was set. Sarah had worked miracles, contacting local businesses for donations, reaching out to the press, and spreading word through the veteran community. The response was overwhelming. Everyone wanted to attend an event honoring our service members and their support systems. I spent the weekend playing the perfect husband while secretly orchestrating the most important mission of my life. Saturday morning, Elise announced she had to work at the shop. On Saturday? I asked. The Morrison wedding is tomorrow. We need every hour we can get. Want me to bring you lunch? That's sweet, but Sophia's going to bring me something. Sophia. Of course. I waited 30 minutes after Elise left, then drove to the flower shop. Her car was there, but the closed sign was in the window. I parked where I could see the back entrance and waited. At 11:43 a.m., Gavin's pickup truck pulled into the alley behind the shop. I took photos as he got out and knocked on the back door. Elise let him in, and they embraced like lovers reuniting after years apart, not friends who'd seen each other 2 days ago. I waited and waited. Gavin didn't leave until 2:15 p.m., 3.5 hours, in a closed flower shop on a Saturday. When he finally emerged, his hair was messed up, and his shirt was wrinkled. Elise appeared in the doorway, smoothing down her dress. They kissed goodbye like it was the most natural thing in the world. I took photos of everything. That evening, Elise came home exhausted but glowing. How was work? I asked. Productive. We got so much done. I'm sure you did. Sunday, while Elise was at the Morrison wedding doing flowers, I visited my old army buddy, Mike Chen. Mike worked in private security now and had access to surveillance equipment. I need a favor, I told him. What kind of favor? The kind where you don't ask questions and I owe you a very expensive dinner. Mike studied my face for a long moment. What do you need? Audio recording equipment. Small, wireless, good quality. How small? Small enough to hide in a flower arrangement. Mike disappeared into his basement and came back with a device the size of a quarter. Voice-activated, 12-hour battery, transmits to your phone up to 100 yards away. Perfect. Rafe? Yeah? Whatever's going on, be careful, and be smart. Always am. Monday morning, I called Elise at work. Hey babe, I want to send you flowers. A surprise delivery to thank you for being so patient while I readjust to being home. Rafael, that's so sweet, but you don't need to. I want to. What's your favorite arrangement right now? Well, we just got some beautiful white roses in. Very elegant. Perfect. Expect a delivery this afternoon. I hung up and drove to a different florist across town. I ordered a dozen white roses in an elegant vase with a note, for my beautiful wife, who means everything to me. All my love, Rafael. Before the delivery, I stopped by Mike's house and carefully placed the recording device in the arrangement, hidden among the stems where it would be invisible but perfectly positioned to pick up conversations. The flowers were delivered to Petals and Stems at 2 p.m. At 2:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Elise. The flowers are gorgeous. Thank you so much. I love you. At 3:23 p.m., the recording device activated. I was sitting in my car in the parking lot of a grocery store 6 blocks away when the audio started streaming to my phone through Mike's app. Elise's voice. They're beautiful, aren't they? A male voice I didn't recognize. Very nice. Your husband has good taste. Elise. He does. In most things. Then, at 4:15 p.m., I heard what I was waiting for. Gavin's voice. Coast is clear. Kelly left for the day. Elise. Good. I've been thinking about you all morning. Gavin. Same here. This sneaking around is eliminating me. Elise. I know. But Rafael just got back. We have to be careful. Gavin. How much longer do we have to keep this up? Elise. I don't know. He's not stupid, Gavin. If he suspects anything... Gavin. Maybe it's time to tell him. Elise. Tell him what? That his best friend has been sleeping with his wife for 3 months? That we're in love? My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Gavin. We can't keep living like this, Elise. I want to be with you. Really be with you. Elise. I want that too, but Rafael, he's not going to just let me go quietly. He's going to fight for this marriage. Gavin. Then we'll fight too. Elise. With what? He's got everything. The house, the savings, the military benefits. If we divorce, I lose everything. Gavin. You'll have me. Elise. That's not enough, Gavin. I need security. I need to know I won't end up with nothing. There was a long pause. Gavin. What are you saying? Elise. I'm saying we need to be smart about this. Strategic. Gavin. Strategic how? Elise. I don't know yet, but there has to be a way to make this work without me losing everything I've built. I turned off the recording and sat in my car, staring at nothing. Strategic. They wanted to be strategic about destroying my life. Well, I had news for them. I'd been trained by the United States Army to think strategically, and they were about to learn what that really meant. That night, I lay in bed next to my wife and listened to her breathe. She was sleeping peacefully, probably dreaming about her future with Gavin. A future they were planning to build on the ruins of our marriage. I stared at the ceiling and finalized my plans for the gala. Heroes and guardians, honoring those who serve and those who protect what matters most. It was going to be a night to remember. Wednesday morning, I made a decision that would change everything. I called Tommy Rodriguez from the VFW. Tommy, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Shoot. Has anyone said anything to you about Elise? About my marriage? There was a long pause. Rafe, I don't think I should... Tommy, we've known each other for 10 years. We served together. I'm asking you as a friend. Another pause. There's been talk. My stomach dropped. What kind of talk? People have seen things. Gavin's truck at your house when you were deployed. Him and Elise together around town. Look, man, I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but what? Mike saw them at a restaurant last month. They were holding hands, Rafe, acting like a couple. I closed my eyes. Who else knows? Most of the guys have heard something. We were all hoping we were wrong. Why didn't anyone tell me? What were we supposed to say? Hey, welcome back from serving your country. By the way, your wife's cheating on you. We thought maybe you should hear it from her. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen and felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was humiliation. Everyone knew. Everyone had been talking about it, pitying me, wondering when I'd figure it out. That afternoon, I drove to the flower shop and walked inside. Rafael! Elise looked up from the white roses I'd sent her. The recording device was still hidden among the stems, and I could see the red light blinking faintly. Still recording. What brings you by? I wanted to see how you like the flowers. They're perfect. I put them right here so I can see them all day. Kelly, her assistant, was arranging funeral flowers in the corner. She kept glancing at us nervously. Elise, can we talk privately? Of course. Kelly, would you mind taking your lunch break now? Kelly nodded and practically ran out of the shop. Once we were alone, I looked at my wife, really looked at her. She was still beautiful, still the woman I'd fallen in love with 9 years ago. But there was something different in her eyes now, something guarded. How was your deployment, really? She asked. Educational. I learned a lot about communication, about how people say one thing but mean another. She tilted her head. That sounds ominous. Does it? I was thinking it sounded honest. We stared at each other for a moment. I could see her trying to read my expression, trying to figure out if I knew. Is everything okay, Rafael? You've been acting strange since you got back. Have I? How so? I don't know. Distant, like you're thinking about something else all the time. I am thinking about something else. I'm thinking about trust. Her face went very still. Trust? Yeah. About how it's the foundation of any relationship. About how when you lose it, everything else falls apart. Rafael, what are you trying to say? I walked closer to her, close enough to smell her perfume and the faint scent of Gavin's cologne that seemed to follow her everywhere now. I'm saying that I know, Elise. The color drained from her face. Know what? About Gavin. About the 3 months I was gone. About the flowers, the secret meetings, the lies. She stepped back, knocking into the counter. I don't know what you're talking about. The florist invoice, Elise. GP to EV for my beautiful secret. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Mrs. Henderson saw his truck leaving our house at 6 a.m. The VFW guys saw you holding hands at restaurants. Your own assistant looks at me like I'm a wounded animal. Tears started forming in her eyes. Rafael, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain how my best friend has been sleeping in my bed while I was serving my country? Can you explain how you've been planning a strategic way to leave me without losing your financial security? Her eyes widened. How did you? I'm a cryptologic linguist, Elise. Finding hidden information is literally my job. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. How was it supposed to happen? I don't know. It started as friendship. Gavin was checking on me like you asked, and we started talking, and you fell in love with him. She nodded, unable to speak. And decided to have an affair instead of asking for a divorce. I was scared. Of what? Of losing everything. The house, the shop, my whole life. I worked so hard to build something, Rafael. I couldn't just throw it all away. So you decided to throw our marriage away instead. I never meant for it to go this far. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. 3 months, Elise. 3 months of lying to my face, sleeping with my best friend, and planning your exit strategy. That's not an accident. That's a choice. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. What do you want me to say? I want you to say you're sorry. I want you to say you know how badly you've hurt me. I want you to acknowledge that you've destroyed our marriage and my friendship and my ability to trust anyone ever again. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, Rafael. Are you? Or are you just sorry you got caught? She didn't answer. Here's what's going to happen, I said. Tomorrow night is the VFW gala. You and Gavin are going to be there. Rafael, I don't think you're going to be there because I'm going to be honored for my service, and it would look strange if my loving wife and my best friend weren't there to support me. You can't be serious. Absolutely serious. Wear something nice, both of you. I turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Elise? Don't bother trying to warn Gavin. I'm going to call him myself. I walked out of the shop, leaving her standing among the flowers, crying. 20 minutes later, I called Gavin. Rafe, what's up, man? I need to see you, tonight. Tonight? I'm actually kind of busy. Cancel it. Something in my voice must have gotten through to him. Okay, where do you want to meet? Your house. 8 o'clock. My house? Why? Because we need to talk, and I want to do it somewhere private. I hung up before he could respond. At 8 o'clock sharp, I knocked on Gavin's door. He opened it wearing jeans and a t-shirt, looking nervous. Come on in, he said. You want a beer? No. We stood in his living room, and I could see him trying to read my mood. So what's this about? He asked. It's about my wife. His face went white. Your wife? Yeah, my wife, the woman you've been sleeping with for 3 months. Gavin sat down heavily on his couch. Shit. That's it? That's all you have to say? He looked up at me, and I could see guilt and fear and something that might have been relief in his eyes. How long have you known? Long enough. The question is, how long were you planning to keep lying to me? Rafe, I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen. And you made a choice to keep it happening. He nodded. Yeah, I did. Why? Because I love her. The simple honesty of it hit me like a punch to the gut. You love her. Yeah. And she loves you. Yeah. So what now? You two ride off into the sunset and live happily ever after? Gavin looked down at his hands. I don't know. Well, I do. Tomorrow night you're going to come to the VFW gala. You're going to sit with my wife and watch me get honored for my service. And then we're going to settle this once and for all. Rafael, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't care what you think. You lost the right to an opinion when you started sleeping with my wife. I headed for the door, then turned back. Gavin? Yeah? 12 years of friendship. 12 years of having each other's backs. Was it worth it? He met my eyes. Ask me tomorrow night. I left him sitting in his living room and drove home to prepare for the most important performance of my life. The VFW hall had been transformed. Sarah Walsh and her team had outdone themselves with red, white, and blue decorations, round tables with white linens, and a stage with a podium draped in bunting. Local businesses had donated everything from flowers to catering, and the guest list had grown to over 200 people. I arrived early, wearing my dress blue uniform with all my ribbons and medals. I looked like a poster boy for military service, which was exactly the image I wanted to project. Rafael, you look fantastic, Sarah said, adjusting my microphone. Are you ready for your speech? More than ready. And your wife and friend will be here? They'll be here. At 7 o'clock, people started arriving. I greeted everyone with handshakes and smiles, playing the role of humble hero perfectly. The local newspaper photographer took pictures, and a reporter from the TV station interviewed me about my service. What does this honor mean to you? She asked. It means everything, I said, because it's not just about those of us who serve overseas. It's about the people who guard what matters most while we're gone. The people we trust to protect our families, our homes, our most precious relationships. At 7:30, Elise arrived. She was wearing a navy blue dress that I'd bought her for our anniversary 2 years ago. Her hair was styled elegantly, and she'd done her makeup to cover the evidence of yesterday's tears. She looked beautiful and terrified. "You came," I said, kissing her cheek for the cameras. "Did I have a choice?" "Everyone always has choices, Elise. The question is whether they make good ones." At 7:45, Gavin walked in. He was wearing his dress uniform too, looking every inch the decorated veteran he was. People greeted him warmly. He was well liked in the community, known for his service and his reliability. If only they knew. "Gavin!" I called out, loud enough for people to hear. "Glad you could make it, buddy." He walked over reluctantly. "Rafael, congratulations on the honor." "Thanks. It means a lot to have my best friend here to share it with me." I saw him flinch at the word friend. Dinner was served at 8. I sat at the head table with Sarah Walsh and other VFW officials, while Elise and Gavin were seated together at a table near the front. I could see them whispering to each other, probably wondering what I was planning. They were about to find out. At 9 o'clock, Sarah introduced me. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, we honor a man who has served our country with distinction for over 12 years. Staff Sergeant Rafael Vega has completed multiple deployments, earned numerous commendations, and most recently returned from a classified mission in Eastern Europe. But tonight, we're not just honoring his military service. We're honoring the bonds of trust and loyalty that make our military families strong. Please welcome Rafael Vega." The applause was thunderous. I walked to the podium, looked out at the crowd, and found Elise and Gavin in the audience. They were both staring at me with expressions of growing dread. "Thank you," I began. "Thank you for this incredible honor. When I was asked to speak tonight about heroes and guardians, I knew exactly what I wanted to talk about. Trust." I paused, letting the word sink in. Trust is the foundation of military service. When I'm deployed overseas, I have to trust my fellow soldiers to have my back. I have to trust my commanders to make good decisions. And I have to trust the people back home to guard what matters most to me. I looked directly at Gavin and Elise. 3 months ago, when I left for my most recent deployment, I asked my best friend, a man I'd served with, a man I trusted with my life, to look after my wife, to be her guardian while I was gone, to protect what mattered most to me. The room was completely silent. I trusted him completely. After all, we'd been through combat together. We'd saved each other's lives. If you can't trust a man like that, who can you trust? I reached into my jacket and pulled out a folded document. Before I left, my friend even signed this. I held up the paper. A formal promise, notarized and witnessed, swearing to protect my household and everything in it while I was serving my country. Gavin's face had gone completely white. But trust, as I learned during my deployment, is a fragile thing. It can be broken in an instant, and once it's broken, it can never be fully repaired. I unfolded the document and began to read. I, Gavin Parks, do solemnly swear to protect and guard the household of Rafael Vega during his deployment. I promise to ensure the safety and security of his home, his possessions, and his wife. I will honor this trust as I would honor my military oath, with integrity, loyalty, and faithfulness. The room was so quiet you could hear people breathing. Signed and notarized on March 15th, 2024. I folded the document and looked out at the audience. For 3 months, I trusted that promise, even when communication became difficult, even when my friends stopped returning my calls, even when my wife seemed distant during our video chats. I trusted that the people I loved most were honoring their commitments to me. I reached into my other pocket and pulled out my phone. But trust, as I said, is fragile, and sometimes the truth has a way of revealing itself. I pressed play on an audio file. Gavin's voice filled the room through the sound system. "Coast is clear. Kelly left for the day." Elise's voice. "Good. I've been thinking about you all morning." Gavin. "Same here. This sneaking around is eliminating me." Elise. "I know, but Rafael just got back. We have to be careful." I let it play for 30 more seconds, including the part where Elise talked about being strategic about leaving me. The room erupted. People were gasping, murmuring, pointing at Elise and Gavin's table. I saw Elise bury her face in her hands. Gavin was staring at the floor. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice cutting through the noise, "I present to you the guardians of what mattered most to me." The crowd was on their feet now, some booing, some shouting. I saw several veterans heading toward Gavin's table with expressions of pure rage. "Please," I said, raising my hand, "please sit down. This isn't about violence. This is about truth." Slowly, reluctantly, people returned to their seats. "I'm not telling you this for sympathy," I continued. "I'm telling you this because trust matters, loyalty matters. When we serve our country, we do it believing that the people we love will honor their commitments to us the same way we honor our commitments to America." I looked directly at Gavin and Elise again. Some people understand that, and some people don't. I reached into my jacket one more time and pulled out an envelope. "Elise Vega, would you please stand up?" She looked around the room desperately, but there was nowhere to hide. Slowly, she stood. "Mrs. Vega, you are hereby served with divorce papers." A process server appeared from the back of the room, Mike Chen in a suit, playing his part perfectly, and walked to Elise's table. He handed her the envelope as cameras flashed. "And Mr. Parks," I continued, "would you please stand as well?" Gavin stood on shaking legs. "Mr. Parks, your formal promise to protect my household has been forwarded to your commanding officer, along with evidence of how spectacularly you failed to honor that promise. I'm told there will be a review of your security clearance and your eligibility for re-enlistment." The room was in chaos now. People were shouting, cameras were flashing, and I could see reporters frantically taking notes. "In conclusion," I said, my voice carrying over the noise, "I want to thank everyone who came tonight to honor real heroes and real guardians, people who understand what loyalty means, people who can be trusted to protect what matters most." I looked out at the crowd one last time. And to those who can't be trusted, who break their promises and betray the people who love them most, I have only this to say: the truth always comes out. Always. I stepped away from the podium to thunderous applause. As I walked through the crowd, people shook my hand, patted my back, and told me how sorry they were. Veterans who had served with Gavin looked disgusted and ashamed. I found Elise and Gavin near the exit, trying to escape the chaos. "Leaving so soon?" I asked. Elise's eyes were red with tears and fury. "You bastard! You planned this whole thing!" "I planned to honor trust and expose betrayal. Mission accomplished." "You've ruined us," Gavin said quietly. "No," I replied. "You ruined yourselves. I just made sure everyone knew about it." "Rafael, please," Elise said. "Can we talk privately? Can we work this out?" I looked at the woman I'd loved for 9 years, the woman who had shared my bed and my dreams and my future, and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "We are working it out, through lawyers, in public, where everyone can see exactly what kind of people you really are." I turned to walk away, then stopped. "Oh, and Elise? The flower shop lease is in both our names. As of tomorrow, I'm withdrawing my financial backing. Good luck explaining to your clients why their wedding flowers won't be ready." She gasped. "You can't do that." "Watch me." I walked away from them, through the crowd of people who were congratulating me and condemning them, and stepped outside into the cool night air. My phone was buzzing with text messages. The local news wanted interviews. The newspaper wanted a follow-up story. Fellow veterans were offering support and expressing their outrage at Gavin's betrayal. I stood in the parking lot, still in my dress uniform, and felt something I hadn't felt in months: peace. They had tried to be strategic. They had tried to plan their betrayal carefully, to minimize their losses and maximize their gains. But I had been trained by the United States Army to think strategically. And in the end, there was no strategy that could overcome the simple truth. Trust, once broken, could never be repaired. But justice, served publicly and completely, was its own kind of healing. I got in my car and drove home to my empty house, knowing that tomorrow I would start building a new life. A life based on truth instead of lies, on respect instead of betrayal, on the kind of loyalty that actually meant something. Behind me, in the VFW parking lot, Elise and Gavin sat in his pickup truck, their lives in ruins, their reputations destroyed, their future together built on the ashes of their own choices. Justice, I thought, was a beautiful thing,